them birds gonna fly. You already know. Race in the snow. Eagles train to go.
Lane Johnson, we have to address if he's retiring or not. Because in this playoff game that the Eagles just lost, he was supposed to be in the game. The Eagles social media team, they used the graphic with him primarily as the person that was going to be leading the game and taking charge and leading the way. And when the game was starting, we learned that he's not going to play. And that right there kind of deflated everybody just to start things because, okay, we're supposed to be getting Lane Johnson back after, I think, about 6-7 weeks. And no Lane Johnson. So I'm not sure if he's retiring or coming back. But if he comes back, he has to be healthy because this year he was in and out of the lineup, in and out of games, coming out of games in the first quarter and things like that. And they're putting in backups that are just liabilities. So we have to figure out what we have in Lane Johnson moving forward. If he comes back, I hope he's able to play most of the season or a full season without injury. Jordan Mailata wasn't his best year this year according to his standard. He's one of the best at his position, so this year right here wasn't the best for him. The O-line in general didn't have a good year. He didn't add to that in any positive way. You watch the game, you've seen him get beat a lot. Especially at the top of the season, you watch him get beat a lot. And, he got better towards the end of the season, but it wasn't much improvement, so hopefully he gets better next year. He probably was playing with injuries as well. Speaking of injuries, Cam Jurgens made the Pro Bowl. Don't know why, because his season was a bad one. He was injured most of the season, and you can tell, he's whiffing on his blocks most of the season. As soon as he snaps the ball, it's over. And somebody's in the backfield in the quarterback's face or in the running back's face. So, not sure why he made the Pro Bowl. I'm sure it was just a quota thing. Hopefully he comes back better next year as well, because if it wasn't the injuries, it's a sign of regression, but I really think it was more on injuries. Landon Dickerson falls in the same category as Cam Jurgens, played most of the season, all of the season injured, just a liability at his position as well. And that's just, just a bad showing for the O-line when you have Lane Johnson being injured most of the season, coming in and out the lineup. Jordan Mailata not having his best year. Cam Jurgens playing injured and whiffing his blocks, and then Dickerson playing injured and just not having a good year at all. Tyler Steen played better than is credited for this year. A lot of people thought he was the weak link this year. But I just finished speaking about a bunch of people that were playing injured and missing their blocks. So if you really watch the game, Tyler Steen, good in the run game and getting a lot better in the pass department. So it's just, pass blocking getting better for him. And in the run game, he's definitely getting to that second level. So the team just has to get better in the offensive line department altogether. And hopefully next year is a better year for them. Saquon Barkley had a decent year, but it was a bad year compared to last year. He was still able to make out with 1,000 yards this year, but it was a struggle to get that 1,000 yards. He played in 16 games, and he had 280 rushes for 1,140 yards with 7 touchdowns, averaging only 71 yards a game with 1 fumble. That's not bad in the fumble department, but he drops the ball a lot when the ball is thrown to him. He's known for having bad hands as a running back, and it continues to stand true. On the last drive of the Eagles playoff game, he dropped the ball as well. He drops the ball a lot, has to work on that. But as far as rushing is concerned, being able to make it out the season with over 1,100 yards after just having a struggle year as far as the O-line is concerned wasn't bad at all. And hopefully things improve next year when things get a little better with the O-line. Will Shipley still in the same role, still intact. He had a snafu in 1 game this year, but that's about it. He's a special teams guy that's going to get there and return the ball and actually get in there and tackle as well on special teams. So I like Will Shipley for that reason, because that's not taking up a roster spot when you're doing all types of things, when you're a running back 3 and you're still returning the ball, and it's always a decent return. It's nothing too flashy, but returning the ball, tackling, because he definitely gets tackles during any game, and it's still the same game where he ran the ball back. So shout out to Will Shipley for being, Swiss Army knife in that regard. A.J. Dillon, not sure if the team is going to keep him or not. They're probably not going to keep him. I expected him to have a better year because there was a point in time where he was the man in Green Bay. He never really had any great showings in Green Bay, but nevertheless, he was still a guy over there in some regard. But over here, he wasn't much of anything. And after he fumbled in that Giants game, he rarely saw the field ever again. So I don't even think he played again after that. Tank Bigsby just needs a good offensive coordinator. I hope he stays with the team as well, because, how he's always willing and dealing. He definitely flashed, and whatever team really needs a running back might come knocking for Tank Bigsby, because Kevin Patullo did not use him well at all this year. He was supposed to be used as a 1-2 punch situation with Saquon, and a lot of times Saquon was just running into brick walls. And
there was a couple plays where we were just running to run it, right? And
so they have to work on what they're going to do with that tandem, because the Eagles are a running team. And if you have two running backs with two different styles, but they're both good, you have one that's elite and another one that's a really good back that can be better given the right system and the opportunity to do things. Things can really look up, and the Eagles can get back to being a running team. Dallas Goedert, he had a great year this year. Not sure how they're going to deal him back onto the team, because he just needs to stay with the Eagles. They don't need to make that mistake of letting him go. He needs to find a way to stay on the team and take whatever team-friendly deal that he can take, because guys like him, when they go to another team, they're usually there for a year before they're making their way back home, because the production level and the team style of the Eagles goes well with how he plays. If he goes somewhere else chasing money right now and tries to be the focal point of an offense as the main tight end that they're trying to throw the ball to, 8 times a game or something, it might not work out for him, But if he goes somewhere and he's just expected to block the whole time too, that might not work out as well. Staying with the Eagles is what I think Dallas Goedert should do this year. He had 15 games he was in, which was a big deal for him, because he's usually playing only 8 games or 10 games or something like that most of the other seasons. So this year he played in 15 games, 60 receptions, 591 yards with 11 touchdowns, which was a team record, and 39.4 yards averaged a game. So they can boost those numbers up a little bit as far as the average yards per game and the receptions. But, Dallas Goedert is a reliable third down guy for Jalen Hurts, and he's been playing his career with Dallas Goedert. So they need to keep Dallas Goedert on the team and just do him that favor and have some type of continuity. Grant Calcaterra, he needs to step it up or go, because I think he's a good receiver as far as catching the ball is concerned, but he does not block well at all, and that's a liability in a tight end if you're not going to block well. And he also gets hurt a lot. He needs to slide or something, but that's not what tight ends do. So if you're going to try to lay out some punishment when you're getting tackled and then you get injured, I don't know what the team is going to do with that. So Grant Calcaterra has to step it up in the blocking department and just add a lot more physicality to his game. Devontae Smith this year, he played in 17 games and has 77 receptions for 1,008 yards, 4 touchdowns, averaging 59.3 yards a game. The thing with Devontae Smith is he also needs a good offensive coordinator as well. And these have been Sirianni failures once again, because Devontae Smith was a guy that was drafted in the first round by the Eagles, and he's played his whole career with the Eagles thus far. But his stats are not the best. And when people are talking about the Eagles' weapons, he's always mentioned when people want to just inflate all the talent that the Eagles have for whatever sake of argument that they're trying to make. But at the end of the day, his production level is not there. And that's an offensive coordinator problem and a head coaching problem. Because Devontae Smith, all the things that he does well, the team never exploits that in games. There's no reason Devontae Smith shouldn't be averaging at least 70 yards a game, because there should always be at least a 35, 40-yarder every game to Devontae Smith. He's capable of it. But a lot of times the team, they don't do that. I know he's not a goal ball guy, but they don't throw a lot of high posts to him, and he's in the slot, and they're not taking advantage of the fact that he could run after the catch if given the space. So, especially if he catches the ball already on the move. He's not a guy that should stop and catch the ball and try to move. Those plays don't really work well when they try to run screens with Devontae. But when they run anything that is a type of crosser, a lot of times he's just taking them to the crib. So they need to work on just how they're gonna utilize him, because even though he doesn't complain, they're underutilizing Devontae Smith just by a large margin. The way that the rest of the NFL world talks about the Eagles' weapons, his name gets brought up, but the production is not there. They had to put him in the last game of the season just to get 1,000 yards this year. And that's because he's ended some years with just 860 something and stuff like that off of missing games. And he just didn't want to have another year where he's just looking at his stats and it was 960 something this time, So need to get better OC situation, and we'll see a better Devontae Smith. I'm sure of it, because there's somebody out there that would love to have him as a weapon in their playbook. Keeping it on the receivers, A.J. Brown played 15 games this year, had 78 receptions, 1,003 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaging 66.9 yards a game. Thing with him is, it's been concluded that he's a diva, and it is what it is. I've spoken on it already. I don't want to waste too much time talking about it. Reports have now come out that he's requested to be traded at least 3 times during the season. Not sure how true that is or not, but whatever the case may be, there are also reports that he's been unhappy since the 2023 season. We know he wasn't happy with a Super Bowl win and all that type of stuff, and he's just been a problem for the last couple years. There's been a dip in his production the last couple years, and you can blame that on the team, but you can also blame that on effort. I felt like he was determined this year to not block for Saquon. That's the problem. He's also dividing the fans right now, because you have the AJ's not going anywhere people, but then there are reports that AJ's requesting to be traded during the season after a win and stuff like that. You have people like me that I don't mind AJ going, because just for team morale. You have somebody that don't want to be there. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. We have to address the elephant in the room. This person has mental health issues, and that's not a slight. It's just a fact. It's something that he's spoken about himself. That doesn't mean we discredit somebody now, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with your outlook on things when it's been stated that things with your mental are not always aligned. So, trying to be sensitive about the topic, but it's just the truth. I can't have a situation that one guy is dictating things for a bunch of other people based on how he's feeling today or not. That's not fair to everybody else. I don't care what talent you bring, And just on a personal note, with friends like A.J. Brown, who needs enemies?
You, Jalen, and AJ met for a few hours. Is that accurate? Can you tell us about the meeting?
Yeah, we had a conversation, but I'm not going to speak too much on it.
Can you tell us about that meeting and why it happened?
Yeah, it's just us talking about the collective, talking about taking ownership for what we can, and talking about how we move forward as a team so we continue to find ways to win games.
Behind that.
I don't recall the meeting.
Oh, okay. The meeting never
I
happened.
don't know what you're talking about.
Those guys said it did happen.
Oh, you ain't talk to them.
You weren't in the meeting,
I don't recall.
or you didn't want to?
I don't recall.
Because one thing is your quarterback is always getting killed by the media for things he doesn't do well as far as they're concerned and according to them. And every complaint you have has to do with something that's going to end up falling back on him. If that's your man's, I don't know who operates like that. And that's how they're going to take it. Nobody's going to say, oh, he's not talking about QB1. He's just talking about Patullo or the team or something like that. People that already are looking for blood, they're going to be like, oh, there he go right there. He's talking about his noodle arm quarterback. So it's just like everything is always about you. There's 52 other people on the active team that's active on the roster that's, if they feel some type of way, they're talking to the media in a media trained way, and you're taking the problems to the media. The media is not going to save you. They're not going to come in there and call the plays or change the plays. You're trying to get help from the fans on Twitter by, I don't know who you're telling on. We're not going to help you do anything. We don't call the plays. We're just fans. We're just going to watch the game and talk about the game after the fact. But talking about what's not right in the building and all of this, that, and the third after a win and just all the negativity, that's just, I don't like all that type of stuff is negative, and I don't like it at all. It's terrible for morale in all kinds of ways. When the Eagles were winning ugly games, we know we had to fix things and there's things to be worked on, and it's just not right. But other teams, they still had this thing where they knew that the Eagles had a mystique about them, and there's this aura that, all right, they're going to make us play an ugly game and they're probably going to win, and we're not going to play our game at all because this is how they play. And there was kind of this aura there and this mystique about that the other team kind of conforms. But when you start complaining after wins, all you're doing is opening the door for teams to be like, man, they suck. And they play that way because they suck, not because they're doing anything special. Let's go take it to them. Because you have Sirianni's philosophy about when we take away the ball, we don't lose most of the time. Well, this was a playoff game that the Birds didn't turn over the ball, and they had 2 interceptions and was rattling the other quarterback somewhat. It wasn't the best pressured game, but they were getting to the quarterback more than the other team got to our quarterback, and they were able to have a better game and still win the game and have more yards and more production. So at the end of the day, you can't go around talking about, oh, we're winning, but I don't like it. Because all that's going to show is that, okay, there's something broken over there. And if that person stays on the team, we always have to worry about what side of the bed he woke up on today. And I don't like that. I want to watch the game. I like football. I want to watch football. I don't want to watch somebody complain to me and they're going to go back to their mansion in their fancy large car. I don't care about any of that. That means it's bigger than football to you and you have other things going on. So fix that and work on that, and I'm sure he's going to still be on the team after all of this, which is just, we're seeing the beginning of something else for the Eagles. And that's just my opinion. Keeping it on receivers, Jahan Dotson, I think he's failed by this team style of play. Jahan Dotson is wide receiver number 3. This guy was a first-round draft pick. Granted, his career has not been that great. So if you look at his numbers when he was on Washington, they weren't that great. His rookie year has been his most productive year so far in his career. But at the end of the day, if the Eagles played a different style of ball, the wide receiver 3 should be getting the ball somewhat, a lot more than the numbers he has. The numbers he has, they're pedestrian. Somebody's going to end up with better numbers than that in 2 games during the playoffs and stuff like that. And it can just be a backup or a guy off the street. So he's just not used at all. He's just used to run routes, and the Eagles don't even run good concepts. So he's not even used to clear anything out or leave anybody wide open. He's just doing cardio. So I'm not sure if the team is going to move on off of him because they have a guy in Darius Cooper. Darius Cooper might be a future star. He has the physique for it, and he's also physical enough when he's playing. So that's somebody that the team might want to develop right there that's already in the building. There's no reason to look around. The NFL really needs to keep developing players. A lot of players come out of college and they just don't develop into anything. And I don't believe that's always on them. I think that's just on the team. Some people get too many chances to get developed and they're just never going to be good, but keep getting opportunities. And then some guys never get the chance to get developed, and we never know what they could turn out to be if given the chance. So right now, I feel like Darius Cooper is in the building and they need to work on him. QB1, he had good numbers this year with a Madden OC, ultimately failed in the playoffs. But And this year he was able to play in 16 games, so this was the healthiest year he's had. He completed 294 passes out of 454 attempts, making that a 64.8% of completions, averaging 201.5 yards a game. Could step those numbers up, but it wasn't too bad as well. Ended up with a total of 3,224 yards with ultimately like no yak. The Eagles don't benefit from yards after catch at all. So, that's over 3,000 yards of just throwing to the guy that's getting tackled right after he gets the ball. So, you do what you will with that. 25 throwing touchdowns and 6 interceptions with a 98.5 QBR, 105 rushing attempts, 421 yards, and 8 touchdowns, which is a career low in yards and touchdowns on the ground during the season. So that just speaks to offensive coordinator once again. You have a situation where the guy is just underutilized. One of the things that makes Jalen Hurts dynamic is using his legs, and not just for the brotherly shove either, but actually taking off in meaningful times, having QB runs and QB draws and things like that just help out. And it also helps in the run game, because once he becomes accounted for in the run game, it opened up things for the running back. So they never had that going this season. He ran about half the time he ran the year before. Patullo this year. That's just me speculating as a fan. What do I know? But I feel like it's one of those situations where it's just like, I'm not going to sacrifice my body for this incompetent person that they're conducting an experiment with. You're not going to experiment with me. In this playoff game that they lost, he could have took off a lot more. One of the only things I criticized him for was not taking over the game by using his legs. But, he stuck with the plays, and the plays were bad. But maybe he just wanted to show that as well. Somebody would say that I'm coping for him right now or whatever. But it's just what it is. Like, it just was a bad year working with a bad OC that everybody is now admitting, like, oh, yeah, that guy was no good. So, hopefully QB1 has a better year next year. I don't know who they're going to bring in for OC. Like I said, Roseman said, doesn't matter if it's going to be a revolving door situation as long as we could win now. And that's just holding his development back, because nobody that hates him chooses to acknowledge that. Like, this guy is literally learning a different language every year and expected to perform well during the course of that year and not being in that system again the following year. Make it make sense, man. Doesn't make any sense, and it's unfair to the player. If anything, he's the one keeping that going, because you have guys like Chris Sims that could not repeat one play call back to his coach during practice, talking about a guy that has to learn from different guys every year, have a different guy in his ear every year, and has to learn on the job and get better during the course of the year, and still is expected to be productive, and everything is Super Bowl or bust. Come on, man. That's a lot of pressure, and that pressure I feel like is only going to set him up to win more championships, and I'm here for that, and everybody's going to be jockeying again when that type of time comes, and I truly believe that's what's going to happen. So the team has to do right by him. At some point in his career, it's going to have to be him and some guy given 2, 3, 4, 5 years working on plays and growing together in one system. That's not Nick Sirianni's system. So I'm always going to ride for QB1. He had a decent year, could have been better, did not have a bad year like the media would have you believe. He improved in a lot of numbers and ultimately stayed in the top 10 in a lot of rankings if you check the numbers and take the blinders off. Tanner McKee is a backup, and that's okay. I've spoken on that. There's no reason to even talk about anything further than that. If he thought he was better, he'll try to get his agent and shop himself to these teams that always need quarterbacks. During the course of the NFL year, there's a team that's always desperate for a quarterback, to the point that they're bringing guys out of retirement that are grandpas, literal grandpas. They have children that have children, and they're bringing them out of retirement to come and play. And they have guys with white beards playing the game. If Tanner McKee was that great, somebody would have came and, put the house on him. So he's a backup. I hope he stays with the Eagles. And the same thing for QB1. Hopefully he gets a guy that wants to stay and develop him as well, because he's also missing out on constant development from one OC. Jake Elliott, thank you for your service. I don't even want to rain on his parade in a negative way. He played in 3 Super Bowls for the Eagles, won 2 for the Eagles, and was a part of the team during the ups and the downs of a lot of things. But he has since become a liability. This guy right here is a liability. Jake Elliott missed 1 extra point this whole season, and it was in the playoff game. And it set the tone for the game. So that just showed that he was always going to cost the team at some point. The kicks that he missed this year were kicks he should have made, especially as a veteran. You have teams that are trotting guys out in the middle of the field to kick 65-yarders, and you better make it, because this is how we tie the game up, or this is how we win the game. But then you got Jake Elliott going for a 47-yarder, and we know he's going to miss it, to the point where the team starts going for 4th and 2s in the red zone and stuff like that, because we just don't trust this guy. He might miss. He already missed today. And it's just bad. And he can go to another team and have a second leg of his career, no pun intended, and, end it out well, because that's happened to multiple kickers. He might need a change of environment. Something might need to happen for him, because he's starting to become a liability. And in my opinion, along with AJ's drops, that extra point set the tone for the game for the Eagles. So when you're coming out trading touchdowns and your kicker missed the extra point and you're still down, even though you came out and scored a touchdown as an answer to a touchdown, that guy is a liability. And for a captain, he has to go. All you're doing is kicking the ball a few times out the year. Look at the stats for kickers. You make a lot of money for that. So, I hate to be harsh, but that's just the truth. Braden Mann should be re-signed by the Eagles. He's another guy up for a contract. He had great punts this year, was a bright spot on special teams as far as I'm concerned. Putting the ball and booting it, setting records, and even announcers are like, wow, this guy, you got a foot. So I feel like they should keep Braden Mann. He did a good job this year. They should definitely resign him. So that's the conclusion of the overall evaluation of the season, the 2025 season for the Birds. I feel like the team had a decent year, and the talent is really what's carrying this team right now. During the Sirianni era, got to take the blinders off. He's not doing anything to be innovative for this offense, and this offense is an expensive one, very expensive offense, and he's just a guy, he's not doing anything. Nobody's growing in his system and getting better numbers. It seems like everybody's either staying stagnant or regressing in some capacity, because that's what's happening. So the team overall had a good year, should have been better. The team should not be home right now watching the playoffs on the couch. So it should have been better for the defending champs to not even be part of the divisional round. It's embarrassing. You had a home game in the playoffs and you lost, and it didn't look like you were kind of really ever going to win the game. The other team was they were in it a bit too much, and they were playing with guys off the street. For your team that had a bye week from resting, you had your guys healthy all year. The Eagles were one of the healthiest teams all season. Most of the starters were rested in the final week. Most of the starters got to play all season. And some of the games that were lost came down to just a few decisions from coaching. Could have had a better record. Should have still been in the playoffs. But it is what it is. Season ended 11-6. First round exit in the playoffs. But I believe the Eagles will be back in the mix of things next year. They have the season schedule out already. I'm not sure if this is the final schedule, but there are very winnable games on here. We're going to see, the usual adversaries and foes that we have already. And then we're going to see some new people that we haven't really dealt with in recent years. And we're going to move on from there. And hopefully the Birds have a better year next year. Going to keep up with the off season to see things that's happening. But not really too much with anything to do with the draft because I don't care until you play for the Birds. So that's the final report right there. Go Birds.
Them birds gonna fly, you already know. Rain, sleet, or snow, Eagles train to go. Say what you